Good morning, everyone. Make sure everyone can hear me. I had an issue in my 9:30. People let me go for like 10 minutes before they told me they couldn't hear me. So, Rick, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Hey, I hope everyone's had a couple good sessions. I feel like I've had two good sessions. Talked about Studio a little bit, and then we went through Gradebook, and it looks by the looks of it, I have a good mix of some adjuncts and full-timers. So I hope I touch base, hope I have something for everybody. And please feel free as we go along to chime in, answer questions on the fly. There's no such thing as an interruption. We are here for the betterment of everybody. And so no question is a bad question. Let it fly. I'm assume if you are thinking it, somebody else is as well. Okay. So for not to beat everybody on the head for the third time, but make sure your name goes in the chat for your credit for being here. We're going to talk about Gradebook and Canvas a little bit, the connection of both of them, kind of your expectations a little bit, of your class and how that impacts your Gradebook. Okay, so without further ado, I ran a little bit over last time, so I am going to get after it right away. So I just have a small PowerPoint presentation, like 2 slides, just so that you didn't have to stare at me. I didn't feel like that was the way to end your day very well. So with the PowerPoint slides, again, I'm just going to touch base on the expectations here of Gradebook, and oops, I get it to go. The expectations. So as you're setting your Gradebook up, and I've talked to multiple people who go back and forth, this and that, the Gradebook should be the last thing that you set up. You should have your instructor course policy, which would detail, your assessments, how they're being graded, your grading scale, your makeup procedure, your absent, your tardy, all of that information should be in your instructor policy and set and ready to go. And from there, then we'll transition everything into your Gradebook. And so what do I mean by that? I want everything to flow. I want it all to be labeled and named the same thing. So if the first unit, you give the assessment and you call it a test, then for the second unit, that needs to be called a test as well. If it's called a test in the instructor policy, it needs to be called a test in your Gradebook, or if it's an exam or whatever it is, okay? We're seeing some discrepancy in wording in the instructor policy and then what it is labeled in the Gradebook, okay? Understand that your instructor policy is your Bible, okay? And if not saying you're going to have issues in class or people question things, but if students question things, the higher ups, the wordage, the brass, they're going to your instructor policy. That's the first question they're going to ask you. What does your instructor policy say? And so we want that thing ironclad. We want it full of information, vital information, and for you to then live up to those expectations throughout your 15 weeks or 8 weeks, however many weeks your class runs. Okay, so to match wording to your instructor policy is something that doesn't always get followed, and I think it's a vital situation. I ran across a couple items of that here this fall, and it just creates, it can create a sticky situation. So match wording to your instructor policy. All right, and exam isn't better than test isn't better than exam. That's irrelevant. It's just we want it to match. We want it to be uniform. Okay, same thing with your grading scale. How are you gonna round grades? Are you not gonna round? Like, what is your grading scale? We're gonna put that in, and away we go. Your makeup procedure. again, online class, there is not anything to be made up, right? They have their time to get it done. And if they don't, away we go. I teach an online class. I teach 2 face-to-face classes. How I handle makeup stuff is if people are able to make stuff up, if they have identified with me, communicated they are going to miss class, they are able to make it up, I input their grades differently in the grade book. Okay, if they are able to make something up, for example, we take an exam on Friday. Student A emails me, hey, I'm not going to be in class on Friday. I allow them to make that up. I do not put a grade in the grade book. I leave it blank. That notifies them, that notifies me that you have the ability to make it up. Okay, if I put a 0 or I put a grade in, that assignment has now been graded and now it is final. Okay, and so if they do not email me in my classes, they do not get it. If they do not communicate with me, they don't get to make it up. So then I put a 0 in for that assignment. And now we know, both parties know, I cannot make that up. It helps them to stay organized in terms of, okay, I need to make this up. When can I make it up? How can I make it up? And I don't have that conversation all the time. Hey, make this up. This is the policy. This is how I handle things, and away we go. I'm not saying my policy is the right policy. I'm saying that is just my policy. And that's how I keep it organized within the grade book. I only teach 3 classes. You full-time or you instructors on overload, it's got to be all really, really difficult to keep all that organized. And so again, what's your best method to keep it all organized is obviously however it works for you, but we need a plan and we need to keep it uniform. Okay. Through your setup, you have 2 options right out of the gate. All right. And so again, how do you run your class? Every class is different. How is your points breakdown going to go? Is each point going to be equal? So homework, 20-point homework assessment, the same as a 20-point exam assessment. Are those 20 points weighted the same? Do they mean the same in the grade book? Again, not right or wrong. As a math instructor, my exams are weighted heavier than my homework. I allow people to work together on the homework. Collaborative work this day, in society, we become very introverted and people learn better with different methods. Some don't want to work with other people. That's fine. Some do. I allow that opportunity, but I weight it less. It's worth less in my course. And again, it's a math course. It's totally different than some of the courses you guys are teaching. I understand that. Each point equally or again weighted. You obviously, as we go through and we set this up, you have the ability to copy previous grade books. You have the opportunity to copy other people's grade books if they are doing things you are interested in doing. If you're a first-time instructor and you have nowhere to start, we have the ability to help you copy previous grade books as a starting point for you then to go in and manipulate and make it your own. But it does provide a reference for you to get started, okay? Let me pop in to mine real quick. I told you the PowerPoint was quick and easy, and that's all we have. So those of you that have never access the gradebook. Okay, it's going to be within your Triton Pass system. So we will sign in on the Triton Pass. Within the link is our self-service link, which is all things you. Okay, under the faculty tab, and now with this self-service, which is constantly changing, it's constantly updating. They're constantly making it easier for us. All right, to grade items, to get information back to students quicker, to allow them to be a more efficient student. And so within my instructor gradebook is my first tab here. You notice I have a yellow star beside it. Within our self-service, you have the ability to create favorites in terms of links you use the most, which makes them most accessible to you. Some of you only get in and use the instructor gradebook. You don't necessarily have to go that route. I'm in here all the time, so I have favorited the things I use the most, okay? And so within my grade book will show up my courses that I am teaching for the semester. Again, set your grade book up last. Obviously would prefer that it's set up and ready to go for the first day of class. It's not necessarily required, but highly appreciated if it is. You're taking attendance the first day. We are tracking students the first day. Those early counts are vital. So we need to make sure that we are tracking attendance. Gradebook is ready to go. Okay. So again, copy wordage off the learning guide, and then away we go. So I teach an online class, 2 face-to-face classes. My gradebook here, my 2 are set up, but I'm going to go through a quick example of how you would want to get this thing set up. So you want to click the course that we want to edit first. So I'm going to click on my online class, and within the information tab has some getting started, some training, really some X's and O's to get you going. You know, our IT people are tremendous people, the people that have designed this, ridiculously intelligent people, and they really listen to us. So if you are going through your grade book and you have an idea to make things easier, go bounce it off of them. And, you know, they amaze me every single day with just the updates they come up with, the ideas they come up with, just to make your life easier and more efficient. Okay. And so think about it, utilize it. This is a tremendous tool. Your gradebook setup. You're going to start with the required. There's 3 required features you must go through. Your overall method. Okay. Again, we've talked about it, each point equally or weighted by category. And so this online class, each point is weighted equally, meaning everything is worth, it's not worth the same amount, but it weighs the same amount. Every point is equal. All right. And through this setup, you're going to want to continue to click save all the way through. All these screens through here, you're going to want to save everything that you change, because there's only one screen that changes by it, or excuse me, that saves by itself. And so you could go in and manipulate a lot of things here and walk away with nothing if we don't save it at the end of the day. Okay. Set your grading options. This will, by default, will load at a 90, 80, 70, and a 60. And so I manipulate this. To me, an 89.5 rounds up to a 90. So your lowest minimum score for an A is 89.5%, B, C, D, so on. And away we go. And if you had more grades, you could add more options as you go. So I'm not changing anything. I'm not going to manipulate anything. Your publishing options are
Justin,
really,
real quick.
yes.
Sorry, I have a quick question. Okay, so I have a lab class that's a pass fail, and I had somebody help me set it up the last time, and I don't remember how you do that because it's just like P and Q.
Okay. Yep.
Can you talk us through that?
You bet. So when you go through here, you would just have the ability, you would have the ability to copy your previous grade book, number 1. And so it would show up what it was previously. But if you were creating a new grade book, you can just delete here these options, and then you could add a new option. So if it was, what'd you say it was? Pass?
Yeah, P and Q.
P and Q. So whatever the percentage was, if it was 50%, and then you would just add that option, and now it's in there.
Okay.
And then same Q at whatever, 75%, 100%, whatever it was. There's your minimum threshold percentage.
Okay, now, but how does it then? Okay, so, but then I don't need to put like a range, because how does it know that anything like 60% or above, that's how it figures it out? So and then when I put the Q, I just put anything 0. I don't need to put a range.
No, so it would be the lowest score, and then it basically talks to itself. So it knows, for instance, here, like anything over 59.5%, is going to be a D, and then it would go, anything would be a D until I hit the threshold above it.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
No, you're good. Absolutely. So that's a little different because I haven't ever experienced that before. So you would go the minimum score threshold for both of those. Okay. And these are different because I know nursing grading scale is different. You know, not everybody's are different, but there are some different options in terms of grading. Publishing options are basically how you want your gradebook displayed. Do you want all the assignments out there to begin with? Do you want only the assignments that have been graded? Do you want only the assignments that are been graded and have been completed? There's different options here, okay? And so for this, my scores for the online class, everything's due on Monday nights. So on Tuesday morning or Monday night, Tuesday night when I grade it, these scores will pop as soon as there's a grade for them. The only thing with this, with my face-to-face class, is if there is makeup options and I don't put a grade in, they don't see it because there has to be a grade in for them to see it. So for my face-to-face class, I use show all assignments, so they still see it, whether there's a score in there or not. So then if there's not a score, they know, hey, this is published. I don't have a score. I know I can make it up, as opposed to just it's available. Maybe he hasn't graded it yet. But they know if they can see it, it's been graded. And so they can proceed accordingly. And again, there's not right or wrong for any of this. This is your field. This is how you run your class, how you want your assignments displayed. Totally up to you. So I'm going to save that. And you're going to slide over to the optional. The optional are just that, optional. You don't have to do anything with them if you don't want to. Copying a previous grade book, if you have set one up already, it is a really simple way to get all that information moved over again. You can still manipulate it, even if you're changing categories, if you're changing percentages, you're changing weight, you can still change that grade book. It just is going to move all those assessments over. So it gets you much further down the road than to type every single one in manually by yourself. And so I usually copy my previous grade books. I have copied this one already. You select the copy option, and then which version do you want to copy? And then that option will become available. It's not going to let me because I already copied one, and once you copy one, you can't copy another one. It's set. Minimum grading percentage. Again, this would only apply to a small amount of you. If there are, a certain grade or range that people need to achieve within assignments, then it's a feature you can address. I don't think it probably applies to many people in this chat room. So once it's set up, and like I said, this is a copy grade book for me. This is current for this spring on my online class. I will need to go in and I will need to update due dates for all these. I like to get this thing totally set up, ready to rock for my online class before the semester starts. In my face-to-face class with this semester and missing potential snow days and all that, I tend to throw the due dates in as I go so that I don't go through it all and then have to go do it all again and do it all again. The online is set. The face-to-face due dates aren't necessarily set. There's a small range based on if we have to cancel class or anything like that. But let me take a step back. All right. So that was under my gradebook setup. My second option now are my categories. And so again, what categories are you using within your course? For my online class, I have homework, quizzes, participation. If you teach an online class and you use the forums category for your discussion posts, you're going to want to change that into participation because it is going to grade those. It's going to grade those discussion posts for you. There's an extra step to help us that is going live this semester. So you're going to want to change from forums, which I had forums, and I got rid of it. It's not published, and I changed now to participation, and I have projects, okay? If this was a weighted course, which this course is, I just have homework, tests, and finals, and this is a weighted. So my homework is worth 30%, my tests are worth 50, and my finals are worth 20%. Those obviously would equal out to be 100%, okay? And so that's the difference between my online classes. Each point is equal, there's no tests, it's all, you're all on your own for everything. My face-to-face now, I put more weight on my tests, all right, my exams. So that's the difference. The previous one, it was set up equally. The weight's not even an option for me to manipulate. If your homework is a default point set every week, my homework is 20 points, 20 points, 20 points, 20 points. You can default point that category for 20 points. And boom, every homework assessment comes out at 20 points. You can still manipulate it individually. It just, again, saves you a step when it says, hey, this is default, or every test is 100 points. Boom, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100 for every single one. Okay, I'm going to take it off. Mine isn't. Your sorts order. So if I want tests to come first, I would put that as a 1. I want homework second, my final third. I'm just throwing the sort order in which I want my categories displayed within my gradebook. And then within your weight method. So within my weighted category, do I want to weight my homework within my weighted category, or do I want each point to be equal? Basically saying, if topic 1 homework is worth 20 points and topic 2 homework is worth 100 points, should they equal the same? Since it's one homework and one homework, even though maybe there's more questions, or should each point, should the 100 points have 100 points worth of value and the 20 points have 20? I usually leave each point equal within my weighted category so that 100-point paper is worth more than the 50-point paper. They're not worth the same, whatever. Next option down. So I was in my I've set my categories up. I have homework, quizzes, and tests. Or excuse me, homework, tests, and finals. So my assessments have been rolled over. If I wanted to add another day, another first day assignment, I can go into create an assignment. I have 2 options where to do that. It's right under my nose in the beginning, or it's the plus option down at the bottom, shortcut button, create assignment. So I'm going to create an assignment. It's a homework assignment. It's first day number 2. And it is 20 points, and it is due on the first day. There's my due date. And I create an assignment, and my create assignment box stays open. So if you hadn't set your gradebook up and you wanted to mass enter assessments, boom, you can rep these out at will, okay? You don't have to input them in the order in which they will show. We can go in and change the order in which they will show in your gradebook. But if you were to change something, modify, add, that's the place you're going to start. So I just added my first day number 2 assignment, and it shows up clear at the very bottom. Now, I probably don't want my first day assignment showing up at the bottom. So I'm going to go under my Organize tab. So I have Collapse, where it just hides it, cleans it up a little bit for me, or I can Organize. And I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom, and I can just up arrow this baby all the way to the top. Just kidding. To drag it. So we had a question about this earlier. They couldn't get theirs to move. It just popped in and it stayed. So I'm going to go first day assignment number 2 right behind my first day. I'm going to save my changes, and it is there. And so again, If you wanted to manipulate this individual assignment, if the due date got changed, I can change my due date. You don't have to have due dates in there. It shows a reminder to the students within their gradebook, shows them when it was due. I think Canvas reminds them. I don't think Gradebook actually reminds them that stuff is due. But if everything is run through Canvas, Canvas gives them a notification, a reminder list. Hey, you have this due, because we all know we need to make it as easy as possible. If you need to change your category, like, hey, I want this to go down as a test or a presentation, or hey, I'm going to have this worth a little bit more. So I don't want it in the homework category. I want it in a different category. Simply change what category you want to throw it in. Really easy. Possible points. This one's all of a sudden worth 25. Okay, I can change that. And then I just want to make sure when I'm done manipulating this that I save it. You have a save all option, dead center. You have one on the shortcut tool just to make sure that everything is being saved. Again, if you were to weight each individual assignment, that weight would show up. If your entered tells you how many of those, I have 35 students in my class, how many scores I have entered for that assignment, and then what their average score was. And then if I want to hide the assignment. So I copied it over. I don't want them to see it yet, or we're just not even gonna do that this semester. I can hide it and it's no longer visible. Okay. For you to enter scores. If you want to enter scores on an individual assignment, you just click on that assignment. Okay. And now we'll scroll through. We can enter scores. We can comment. We can change the due date. We can excuse them. You can, manipulate this on an individual assignment spectrum. There's a couple different options here. Your -1 option, if it's an in-class assignment and your students excuse. So maybe you have a basketball player, an athlete in your class. It's an in-class assignment. They can't really make it up. We did it in class. They're gone for a game. So instead of that counting against them, you can just go -1 and it excuses them. So it doesn't count against them. They don't get credit for it. Doesn't count against them. And away we go. So notice -1 out of 5, 0%. It was 0% started. It doesn't count against. The other thing is, and it would show in the gradebook as excused. So it would be -1 excused. You don't have to worry about it. -2 completely deletes it out of their gradebook. So it's similar to the excuse portion, except now it doesn't show. So same sort of instance. I don't know what kind of instance you would have where that would work. My guess would be something like the example I just gave you. You can't really make it up. It was a group discussion about whatever. Man, everybody did great. They got their 5 points. Joe was gone at an athletic event. You can't really make it up. They don't count against them, but they don't get it. They don't receive the points either. -1, -2, couple options to manipulate that within your gradebook. Okay. And so then obviously when you're done, you would submit and away we go. Under your scoring menu, you have a couple different options to score or to implement points. If some of you use an Excel spreadsheet, I know in one of my math classes, scores I can export them into an Excel spreadsheet. I can then save that to a CSV file, and I can import those grades into my gradebook using that method. It's a little more complex. I probably don't have time to cover that. I would most definitely do it one-on-one. If that is something you would benefit you, I would most definitely would meet with you and show you how to do that. The alternative score entry is a neat window because this basically opens your gradebook wide open. All right. So if we wanted to throw a whole bunch of grades in at once, now this is every assignment that's in my gradebook is there. And I can go crazy throwing a whole bunch of assignments in. Okay, and I can just go. This is the one screen that it saves automatically. So after every input, just like it says here, after every input, it automatically saves. So the first time I used this window, I went crazy because there's no save screen, there's no save button. I'm just like, man, how do I just put in 25 scores. How do I know this is going to hold until I, finally read the directions? And okay, I close out, it's saved, away we go. And there's different options here. You can open a comment. So if I go in here and I give this student a score, I can go Control C and it opens the comment box. And I can type a comment and then I can go Control X and it'll close that comment. And those directions are right up above. And so again, if you are looking to throw in a bunch of scores at one time, my suggestion would be to use this alternative method. You just use your arrow keys to manipulate, to move from box to box to box, and you would close out of there. Okay. Linking with Canvas. Those of you that have assignments submitted within Canvas, whether it's a quiz that's self-graded for you, whether it's they're turning in their papers and you're grading them through Canvas, whatever it may be, if you are doing anything grading in Canvas, my suggestion to you is that we get your Canvas synced up with your gradebook so those grades move automatically. There's no reason for you to put your grades in Canvas and then have to put your grades in again in Gradebook. Now, some of you, maybe that's the method. You're comfortable with that, and that's totally fine. I understand that. But the Canvas Gradebook really means nothing. It's not weighted. It's not set up like your online gradebook is, your self-service gradebook. So people could see an A in the Canvas Gradebook and they could have a D in your web design or your self-service gradebook, simply because they're not the same thing. Okay. And so for you just to be able to input them one way, click a button and move saves you a lot of time. So within my Canvas, here is my coaching class from the previous semester. And this was a paper they needed to complete. It's a topic 2 paper. I label my stuff very generically. For those 2 items to talk, they have to be labeled the exact same thing. And when I say label the exact same thing, I mean capital letters, I mean spacing, I mean punctuation, anything has to be exactly the same. So however I label it, usually I'm creating it in Canvas first. I create it in Canvas. You just copy that sucker, highlight it, copy it. So I know it's completely the same thing. Okay. And then I come over to my gradebook. Been open for a while. It might take me a sec. So I open my coaching gradebook, and within my assignments, notice my discussion topics here. I just have the enter score option, meaning it's not linked with Canvas. When I come down to my papers category, notice there's an import Canvas function, meaning that now these assignments are linked to Canvas. And if you think they should be linked and they're not linked, we come up to the link with Canvas option, and the auto link is by default highlighted, and it will show you a list of your assignments that are linked. Okay, and if you wanted to unlink something, like, no, I don't want my topic paper stuff going over, we're just going to do that in class, whatever. You can unlink it by a click of the link. Boom, unlinked, done. It's not moving over. If you have created a new assignment, and so topic 2 paper, I have created, and I come over here and I just paste in my topic 2 paper, and now I want to link it. It is not going to link automatically by itself. I need to come in to the link with Canvas. And what I do is I just click to the link new. Basically, I click off of the auto link, because if they're labeled the same and I come back to the auto link, this will now link them together. That's all you need to do. If they're labeled the same thing, is click off the auto link and then click back on it, and it'll link up. And from there, once they're linked and you see the import Canvas option, you just have to click the import Canvas option. And now these grades are going to show up. So you will have an import score and you'll have an existing score. And if you have a comment in Canvas, the comment comes and the score comes. And I'm gonna close out of that because I'm probably not supposed to show you students' scores. You need to save that import. And then those grades, those comments move over into the gradebook automatically. So you don't need to copy scores, copy comments from both spots. We need to get them linked. They need to be named the same, create the link, import, and it moves, okay? And I do that for all these papers. I import everything over it. You know, my math class that I teach, we use WebAssign, which is a third party. Everything's done at WebAssign. It's self-graded. Those grades move to or linked in Canvas. Canvas, it moves over to the gradebook. So you talk about 10 years ago when I taught this business math class and they handed in hard copy homework on paper on Wednesday and we were testing on Friday. They weren't getting that homework back until Friday morning. Here you go, you got 3 out of 10. You thought you had 10 out of 10. And now you walk into the test and you have the test and your questions aren't answered, you're unprepared. And now it's self-graded, they know right away, their grades are moved over, their coaches know where they're at, they know where they're at. Everything to me is up to date. Now, I teach 3 classes, I understand. I don't teach a ton. This isn't, but the functionality of this has really made my life a lot easier, okay? If you are giving hard copy assessments on paper that you are grading by hand, put them in Canvas. Put them in Canvas. Takes a little bit of time, the one semester. You can go in and manipulate them. It saves you a lot of time in the end. Okay, a lot of time in the end. And it free range. It allows you the ability to change things simpler than changing a worksheet or changing anything else. I can't speak highly enough about the Canvas, the system, how they work together. And if you're struggling, if you're overwhelmed, if you have no clue, let me help you. That's what I'm here for. Okay, let me help you. If I don't know the answer, I'll go find it. Or I'll get you connected with the people that do know. It just is a really a tremendous resource to be able to really be efficient with your time and with the students' time. Okay. At the college level, we don't do midterm grades. We just do final grades. Your final grades, let me get out of that semester. Your final grades will pull in. Once grades have been finalized, if they have a failing grade, you will need to input the last date of attendance. It is vital that you keep attendance on a daily basis. Again, how does that attendance look for your class? That's up to you, okay? So as I go and take attendance, do they have to be there right at, if you have an 8 o'clock class, if it's 8:05, are they late? Are they absent? What is it? How do you run your class? That's up to you, okay? But as you input your attendance, you click on the date. The green date means that your attendance has been inputted for that class. The red date means that no attendance has been inputted. So I was gone on December 7th, so I do not have attendance inputted. You have 5 options here for your attendance. You have your present, your late, your absent, your activity, or you're not required. If they have a project done, they don't need to come to class, not required. They don't get credit for being there, but they're not counted absent either. If they're an athlete or they're part of a club that has a school-sponsored trip, that advisor or coach puts in who travels, who doesn't. That automatically goes into your gradebook. That would be clicked as an activity for that day. And then again, like I said, absent, tardy, or absent, late, present, up to you. I usually take attendance right at the beginning of class and then make sure it's still the same at the very end. I'm not perfect at it, but I try to be as consistent as I possibly can. Some days I'm just so excited, you know, to talk about fractions, I forget to take attendance. 8 a.m. So that's just me. There's other options in here with your within your class roster. You can review attendance for that specific student. If you have a student that you haven't seen for a couple weeks or is really struggling, you can actually dive into their gradebook. You can see how they're doing in relation to their other courses. Is it a me issue? Is it an 8 a.m. issue? Is it an everybody issue? Communicate, hey, they're getting an A in this class, they're getting an F in mine. Like, hey, what's working for this student? Like, it's not working in mine. You know, there's options there for us to knock barriers down to really help these students dive into what's going on instead of just, you know, kicking them to the curb and say, well, too bad. We have that option to do a little bit of homework and you know, help seek them out. So new to the spring of 23, we have the weekly feedback has changed. So if you're an online instructor and we go through our weekly feedback, which we know is mandatory each week to present feedback, it gives an individual touch to our students. The points will be automatically generated for you. You will still need to go in and mark between your related and unrelated discussion topics. And then based on what those numbers are, a points value will be automatically generated for you. So with that, then within the gradebook, the student will be able to see exactly what discussion post was related, what wasn't, or what was unrelated. In years past, they have not had that option. And so now they have that option to be a lot more transparent with where they're at, what they're doing, what's right, what's not right, and away we go. So just make sure as an online instructor, we are filling the weekly gradebook. Try to say something really individual to each of them. I know, you know, this math class, I'll have 3 or 4 that have, you know, 98, 99%, and, you know, you can only tell them good job so many different ways. So we get into the copy and paste and copy, I understand. But try to really hint on something individualistic. Hey, your discussion post, I really liked this. Like, keep up the great work. Just that individual touch that separates us from the rest goes a really long ways. Last thing I really want to touch base on, this testing center. And again, I can't speak well enough about it. They have really got this thing, you know, honed in to the point where it's really, really simple for you as an instructor. So if somebody's going to miss and they get to make up an exam where you want it proctored, you dive into the testing center and you're going to identify which assignment you want sent. So we're just going to go the first quiz, whole numbers. And then a whole bunch of options for you to determine here. And I don't need to read them. They're pretty self-explanatory. You know, open book, open notes, computer, is it an online system? Is there a password? Is there a time limit? Any sort of notes you want them to know. And then you would click the student who it would apply to. Their accommodations are in the system. They already show any special instructions. And then, you know, if it's a hard copy test or a hard copy assessment, you can upload it, they'll print it, they'll give it to them, they'll scan it back, they'll send it to you. You'll get an email when it's been completed. It is really, really, really tremendous how easy this process is. And so that's what I would suggest. You are busy. It is trouble. It's not trouble. It is a lot of extra work to deal with makeup. It just is, because you are set for this to be done at this time. And now, you know, it needs to be made up. So boom, right on the spot. They sent you an email. I'm going into here. I'm going to send it to them. Hey, it has to be done by a certain time. And away we go. And man, it just makes life in terms of organization much, much simpler. So I covered a lot. I hope it was worth your time. Is there anybody that has any questions for me?
I have one question, and it's from way back in the beginning. You had said that if it's a class you haven't taught before, and you can't copy an old, grade book over, you could have somebody that had taught the class, you could use their, have copy theirs. Well, how would you do that? Because you have to
Sure.
set up Canvas so that it would match whatever their grade book was.
So you would still need, you need a new Canvas section that would be your own.
Yeah,
And then what we would do is we would go in to the system. You can notify me. We go into the system. We add you as an instructor to a previous semester's course, simply for the idea for you to go into your grade book and copy that grade book. And then we would take your name off the previous semesters.
okay.
So you would have to come, basically, you could start with me, and we make that happen quite a bit.
So the grade book, would it already be set up?
So there would be, so it depends what you would actually want to copy. If you just wanted to copy the format, or if you wanted to copy everything where all of the assessments would flow over. If you just wanted the setup, it would just have the category, the weight, that initial setup, and then you would throw each individual assignment in.
But you would have to give me a different, a blank shell for Canvas, right?
Well, and that's
For their Canvas. Okay, I think I understand that.
But you could also, we've also copied other people's Canvas stuff,
Yeah,
because there would
okay.
be materials maybe you wanted to use and maybe you didn't, and that's fine, but they would be available to you. No, the information share is pretty in depth. So
Okay, that would be great.
And what we found, especially with the adjuncts, is just that, you're off campus, you're not well connected, you don't always have a ton of resources. And so we're really trying to bridge that gap to get those resources in your guys' hands.
Yeah, I have a class coming up that I haven't taught here before. And my other classes, I can't copy the grade book because it's a totally different class and I don't have any material. So I just need to contact you for assistance.
Yes, start with me and
Okay.
I will get you connected to wherever you need to go.
Okay, thanks, Justin.
You bet, absolutely.
I have a question in regards to the feedback and checking if it's related or unrelated. Is it permissible to do that as the week progresses? Because what I have done, and I just started teaching again this past fall, and so I just waited until Tuesday morning, went into and did related, unrelated, and that way I had it, because I had to tabulate, yada yada. Or can you do that as you go along?
Absolutely. You could, if you wanted to do it, at the end of the day, or before you go to bed, and just up to date with every single one, because we should be going in there and posting, 5 days a week anyway. So when you're in there and posting and you want to just go ahead and, click those, identify those at that time, 100% fine. You do not have to wait till the end of the week.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Anybody else? Well, thank you so much for your attendance. Hope you all have a tremendous semester. If I can assist you, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I will be glad to get you contacted or push through to whoever it is that you need. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you down the road.